What's up YouTube, Zero here, and today I have an absolutely amazing Celebi EX, Ho-Oh EX, and Serperior Deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket. In this video, I'll go over the deck build that you can see on the left hand side of the screen. I'll talk about each of these cards individually, and then I'll talk about why this deck works so well together and why you should definitely be checking it out. Before I get into it, I do want to say, as always, if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more Pokemon TCG content. It does really help out me and my channel, so thank you so much in advance for doing so. Without further ado, let's talk about this deck. First, I'm going to start with a staple, a Pokemon that's been around for a very long time in Pokemon TCG Pocket, Celebi EX. Celebi EX dropped with the Mythical Island expansion, and it has been a phenomenal card since then. Of course, Celebi, with the expansions and all of the new packs that have come out, has fallen off a little bit. Not as many players are utilizing Celebi EX, but it is still a phenomenal Pokemon, and with the introduction of Ho-Oh and baby Pokemon, Celebi EX should be making a comeback. It is absolutely phenomenal, can really build up energy quickly, and can really decimate opposing teams. So let's talk about this Celebi EX. For 2 energy, one of which is grass and 1 colorless, is Powerful Bloom. It does 50 times damage. So for Powerful Bloom, you flip a coin for each energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 50 damage for each heads. So notice it says flip a coin for each energy. That is not grass specific energy, and that's going to be extremely important. Yes, you do need at least 1 grass energy to attack with Celebi EX. However, no matter what energy is on Celebi EX, you flip a coin for that energy. So that's really important. It does not matter what energy is attached to Celebi EX, you flip a coin for every energy attached. So that's going to be really nice and pair nicely with Ho-Oh EX that I will talk about in a second. But Celebi EX, of course, the strategy for Celebi EX is just build up as much energy on Celebi EX as possible. I didn't mention it earlier because this deck does have Ho-Oh, but Ho-Oh only requires colorless energy. This deck is running grass energy, so you don't have to worry about equipping 1 grass energy on Celebi. It's going to be easy to come by because the deck is running grass energy. So again, Celebi EX is going to be found in the Mythical Island packs, but this is going to be the damage dealer of this deck. Next, let's talk about Ho-Oh EX, because Ho-Oh EX surprisingly pairs well with Celebi EX. So Ho-Oh EX for 3 colorless energy is Phoenix Turbo. It deals 80 damage, and on top of that, you take a fire, a water, and an electric energy from your energy zone and attach them to your benched basic Pokemon in any way you like. So what's nice about the combination of Ho-Oh EX and Celebi EX is Celebi EX is a basic Pokemon, so Ho-Oh's Phoenix Turbo is going to work with Celebi EX, meaning you take those 3 different energy, the fire, the water, and the electric, and you can put all of them on your Celebi EX. That means every time Ho-Oh attacks, as soon as you power up Ho-Oh, which is 3 colorless energy, as soon as you get Ho-Oh powered up and you attack, you can equip those 3 different energy onto your Celebi EX. That gives you 3 coin flips. Your next attack from Ho-Oh gives you 6 coin flips for Celebi, and of course, so on and so forth. So once you get Ho-Oh EX powered up and your Celebi EX is on the bench, you can start really getting those coin flips going with your Celebi EX, which is going to be absolutely awesome and can turn the tide of battle. You can see in this gameplay, I was able to take out the Dialga and the Tinkaton with my Celebi just because of all of those energies that I have equipped, which was absolutely amazing. It was a come from behind victory. I'm sure my opponent thought they had it in the bag. They had me on the run. However, Celebi was ready to go and powered up with all of those energy. So that's a phenomenal combination, the Ho-Oh EX plus your Celebi EX. And Ho-Oh EX is going to be found in the new packs just released, the Wisdom of Sea and Sky, specifically the Ho-Oh packs. Of course, this is a Ho-Oh, so you're going to find this Ho-Oh EX in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs. Next, I am going to talk about the baby Pokemon in this deck because it does actually work really well when paired up with both Ho-Oh and Celebi, and that's going to be Magby. Magby is a phenomenal Pokemon to start generating energy insanely quickly. For those of you who don't know, in these new packs, the Wisdom of Sea and Sky, baby Pokemon were released. And so what's nice about these baby Pokemon is that even though they don't have a lot of HP, they operate without having to equip an energy. So you can start whatever the baby Pokemon is, you can start utilizing that baby Pokemon to get your team rolling, and Magby is phenomenal for that. And so Magby has Toasty Toss, no energy required. Take a fire energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your benched basic Pokemon. So this is absolutely phenomenal to pair with both Ho-Oh EX and Celebi EX. I mentioned earlier that Ho-Oh EX has 3 colorless energy, so it doesn't matter what energy you equip on your Ho-Oh EX. You can take Magby, equip the fire energy onto it, and then take an energy from your energy zone, which is grass, and attach it to Ho-Oh. So you can really get Ho-Oh combined with Magby going really quickly. If you don't have a Ho-Oh EX on your bench, no problem if you have the Celebi EX on your bench, because if you have Magby in that active slot, you can start equipping that extra energy from Toasty Toss onto your Celebi EX, and that's going to be a nice way to power up Celebi quickly. So you could take a fire energy, put it on your Celebi, and a grass energy from the energy zone and put it on your Celebi. So it's going to be really nice to utilize Magby in this deck because you can start building up that energy really quickly, and that's what we're looking for. This deck, this combination, is going to be looking to build up energy, especially on Celebi. Of course, you want to get your Ho-Oh going. As soon as your Ho-Oh's going, you're just going to start equipping more and more energy onto Celebi. That's not the only way to win, of course. If you are starting with your Magby in the active slot and your Celebi on the bench, you can just get Celebi going, especially if you haven't pulled a Ho-Oh from your deck yet. But Magby is absolutely a phenomenal card to have in a lot of different decks that can either utilize fire energy or decks that don't care about what energy you're generating. So Magby is really awesome, and Magby is going to be found in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs as well. Last but not least, the last Pokemon in this deck that makes it really work, is going to be your Serperior. Now, your Serperior combined with Celebi is a classic. It's a tried and true method. Of course, Serperior is known for its ability when combined with Celebi EX. Each grass energy attached to your grass Pokemon provides 2 grass energy. And of course, the effect doesn't stack, so you can't put 2 Serperiors on the playing field and stack it. However, for every grass energy you have on your Celebi EX, that now counts as 2 grass energy. So your Ho-Oh is going to be in that active slot. It's going to be building up energy on your Celebi. And the energy from your energy zone, you're going to equip on your Celebi. And all of that grass energy you've now equipped from your energy zone onto your Celebi can be doubled by Serperior. Serperior also has a move, of course, for 4 energy, one of which is grass, 3 colorless, is Solar Beam for 70 damage. But in reality, it's only 2 energy because, as I mentioned earlier, Jungle Totem, Serperior's ability, works on Serperior as well. So it's going to double that energy on Serperior. So as long as you have 2 grass energy equipped on Serperior, it's going to be the equivalent of 4 energy. So it really doesn't take a lot to get Serperior going. So first I want to talk about the strategy of this deck. And of course, you need Snivy to evolve into Serperior. I have the Snivy from Mythical Island packs that come with Serperior. Serperior is also in those Mythical Island packs, but Snivy for 1 grass energy, 1 colorless is Vine Whip for 40 damage. So now let's talk about this Pokemon strategy and then talk about the rest of the cards in this deck. There are multiple ways to win with this deck, and it's actually really nice. One, the best way is getting your Magby in that active slot. Hopefully you start with your Magby, and then you start building up energy on either your Ho-Oh EX or your Celebi EX that's on the bench. As soon as your Ho-Oh EX is powered up, hopefully your Magby hasn't fallen by that point, but you can get your Ho-Oh into that active slot and start damaging your opponent while equipping energy onto your Celebi. Of course, all the while equipping grass energy from the energy zone onto your Celebi as well. Then you want to try to get Serperior out onto the bench so you can double all of that grass energy that is now on Celebi EX. Of course, making it so you have as many coin flips as possible. So there are a lot of matches that if this strategy does take shape, I can have 10 to 15 coin flips for my Celebi by the end of the match, which is pretty awesome. Now, it's not the end of the world if you don't get your Celebi or your Ho-Oh or your Serperior, because there are multiple ways of winning. Of course, if Magby's in the active slot and it's powering up Ho-Oh, Ho-Oh can win a match by itself. Of course, you have Ho-Oh in the active slot, and it can power up either another Ho-Oh on the bench, it can power up your Serperior on the bench, it can power up Celebi on the bench. So there are multiple uses for Ho-Oh, not just to power up Celebi, but it can win matches itself. Celebi, same thing. If Celebi is on the playing field, it only requires 2 energy to start attacking, so it does get going pretty quickly, and you have the potential of dealing 100 damage with those 2 energy equipped. Of course, most likely with 2 energy, coin flips are 50-50, so most likely, most of the time, you're going to be dealing 50 damage, but there's still the opportunity of dealing that 100 damage. And then you can just keep equipping energy onto your Celebi, dealing as much damage as possible, hoping you can get your Serperior to double that grass energy. Serperior, don't count it out, because it can still win games by itself, of course, only requiring 2 energy. Of course, it can get going pretty quickly. So there are a lot of ways for this deck to win. Of course, the most obvious way is getting Celebi going, because if you have 10 to 15 coin flips and you take the averages and you know you're going to get about half being heads, 10 coin flips where 5 of them are heads, 5 times 50 is going to be 250 damage. So that's going to kill every Pokemon in the game, regardless of if they have a cape equipped or not. So that's one of the reasons why you want to get your Celebi going. You're not going to have to fear any Pokemon in the game, because law of averages say that you're going to be able to kill that Pokemon. So Celebi is going to be your best way of winning, but it's not the only way of winning. So just take note of that. Now let's talk about some of the supporting cast in this deck. First, a couple of obviouses. Pokeball, which draws a basic Pokemon from your deck to your hand, and then Professor's Research, which you draw 2 cards. Pretty basic. You want to get through your deck as quickly as possible, trying to get your Serperior out on the field, your Celebi, your Ho-Oh, etc. You want to get all of these Pokemon out onto the field. Next, Rare Candy is absolutely needed, because I am skipping the stage 1 of our Serperior evolution line and going right to Serperior. So for those of you who don't know, Rare Candy, if Snivy is on the field for at least 1 turn, Snivy is on the field for at least 1 turn, and the Rare Candy and Serperior is in my hand, then I can evolve right into Serperior, skipping the stage 1, going right to the stage 2 evolution. So this is going to skip my Servine in this evolution line and evolve right into Serperior. I like being able to do that because it allows me to get to Serperior a little bit quickly. Of course, I do need rare candy, but it's going to allow me to get Serperior out there and doubling that grass energy onto my Celebi. So I like putting rare candy here and skipping the Servine of the evolution line because it's going to make it a little bit quicker to get to my Serperior. And rare candy is going to be found in the Celestial Guardians packs. Last but not least, I have 2 different capes in this deck. The first is going to be Leaf Cape. Leaf Cape can either be equipped onto Celebi EX or Serperior, and the grass Pokemon this card is attached to gets plus 30 HP. 30 HP is going to be really nice for both Celebi EX and Serperior because it's going to put you over a lot of different breaking points. Serperior will go from 110 HP to 140, and Celebi EX will go from 130 HP to 160. So this is going to vastly increase the survivability of both of these Pokemon. Really, I'm saving Leaf Cape for Celebi EX. However, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes you may have to put Serperior in the active slot and start attacking. So Leaf Cape is going to be nice for that as well, to keep your Serperior alive. You can see here I needed to use Leaf Cape on my Snivy because I needed to buy a little bit of time prior to getting the rest of my team going. I needed my Serperior out there. I needed to attack with my Serperior, so I utilized Leaf Cape on my Serperior to give me that time to start damaging with Serperior, so I can start building up energy on my Pokemon on the bench. So there are multiple uses for Leaf Cape, but it really does increase the survivability of grass-type Pokemon. It's an absolutely phenomenal card to have, and Leaf Cape is going to be found in the Celestial Guardians Solgaleo packs. Last but not least, I have a Giant Cape. Of course, there are probably a lot of different options here, but Giant Cape is insanely important for baby Pokemon. As I mentioned earlier, baby Pokemon only have 30 HP. Now, there aren't a ton of Pokemon in the game that deal 30 damage to start right off the bat, but there are some. There are some Pokemon that do deal 30 damage, and that's going to leave your Magby vulnerable if you're facing those Pokemon. So Giant Cape is going to increase the survivability of Magby just a little bit, so you can, at a bare minimum, start getting at least 1 or 2 energy out of your Magby instead of fainting right away. One of the most prominent Pokemon right now that I can think of off the top of my head is EX. EX deals 30 damage for 1 colorless energy, and a lot of players are going to be utilizing EX because there are a lot of EVs and evolutions in the game that are being utilized right now. So that's one Pokemon you want to avoid fainting to right away. Of course, there are other Pokemon that you want to avoid fainting to, but that's just one off the top of my head. But Giant Cape is going to be phenomenal to staying alive at least through 1 turn, so you can continue to equip the energy that you want to equip on your Pokemon on the bench. On top of that, Giant Cape is great for Ho-Oh to increase its HP up to 170. Its normal HP is 150. You can increase it up to 170, again increasing the survivability of Ho-Oh. There are a couple of Pokemon in the game that do deal 150 damage, but furthermore, there are a lot of Pokemon in the game that can deal 130 damage or 140 damage, and that being the case if they have a red, which red deals an extra 20 damage to EX Pokemon, can one-hit KO Ho-Oh EX. With Giant Cape, you're going to avoid this one-hit KO, so it's really nice to have that 170 HP. That's the reason why I run Giant Cape in this deck. It's phenomenal. I don't have a lot of trainer cards in this deck or supporter cards in this deck. I really have a lot of tools and a lot just to make sure I'm getting my Celebi going, because Celebi is going to be a lot of make or break in this deck. As I mentioned earlier, it's not going to be the only card to win. There are a lot of matches that I've won with my Ho-Oh or my Serperior, but it's going to make me feel a little bit more comfortable if I have a lot of energy built up on Celebi EX that I can win that match. Furthermore, this deck is almost Mars and red card proof. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of these cards that you have, you're going to be utilizing right away. Pokeball, when you get Pokeball, you're going to be utilizing it to try and draw a basic Pokemon from your hand. And as soon as you get that basic Pokemon, as long as it's one that you want on the playing field, you're going to put it on the playing field right away. If it's a basic Pokemon that you don't want, you're going to leave it in your hand. And if you get red carded or Mars, it's not the end of the world because you didn't want it on the playing field anyway. Leaf Cape and Giant Cape, as soon as you get them, you're most likely going to put it onto your Celebi EX or your Serperior that's on the playing field. Or your Ho-Oh if it's a Giant Cape, or Magby. So a lot of these cards you're actually just putting on the field right away. The only cards that may be a little susceptible to Mars or red card are going to be your rare candy plus your Serperior. Those are going to be the cards that you hold on to, kind of waiting for your opportunity to evolve Snivy. But outside of that, this deck is pretty immune to Mars and red card, which is a pretty prominent card right now. So it's nice to be immune to one of the popular supporter cards right now. This is an absolutely phenomenal deck and a great way to build up energy on Celebi. Celebi is going to be your high damage dealer, but it's not the only way to win. A lot of these cards have a great opportunity to win you matches, and I absolutely love this combination. Celebi EX is a phenomenal card, and so is Ho-Oh EX. Combined with Serperior, Celebi is going to be dealing a lot of damage, and Magby is just there to stoke the flames. I have a couple of tools to increase the survivability of Pokemon, and every other card in this deck is really just getting us through our deck and helping out with these Pokemon. So let me know in the comments section what you think of this deck. Are you going to utilize it, or is this one you're going to pass on? Let me know if there's a substitution of a card that you'd like to see in this deck to make it even better. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if there's a Pokemon you'd like to see a deck of, let me know in the comments section. Well, until next time, peace.